Back to the show. Well, you could be making a $260,000 mistake right now and don't even know it. It all comes down to superannuation fees. And with super statements about to roll in, it's more important than ever to check what you're paying.
Absolutely. And to explain, we are joined by Today Money expert Effie Zahos. Effie, this seems like an expensive mistake to be making.
Well, it is happening, unfortunately. And as you point out, in this particular scenario, it all comes down to fees. So the industry collects about $20 to $30 billion a year in fees. To be fair, a lot of that is investment fees. And because there's a lot of competition now, you know, they are reducing fees to a certain extent here. So this analysis from StockSpot, they basically looked at funds that are fit, so they call them the fit cat here. So these are net returns are even better because you shouldn't just look at fees alone. And there's a difference between a fit cat and a fat cat of almost 1% in fees. So they crunch the numbers. Typically over a period, you're losing about $265,000 from your nest egg.
Wow.
And as super funds, they're already starting to come in their statements. This is something that consumers need to look at. Like I said, fees alone is not that great. Net returns is what you're looking at, but it's such an easy mistake to make if you're in a dud super fund.
Well, I mean, let's be real. I mean, most people would love $260,000 in their fund, right? The first point. But if you're young and you're starting out, you don't even think about this for the next 50, 60 years. You're not even looking at the fees. But that's where you can save, right?
You can. And this is even the Productivity Commission pointed out that fees are a big thing. So when your statement comes through, I think the biggest tip I can give you is have a look at the fee section in conjunction, of course, with the performance. And there's a little formula I use. Add up all the fees, and you probably won't find it
this takes me back to year 12.
Yeah, look at this. I can't understand
I've given you a rule and an example.
Okay.
So add up all the fees. Let's say it's $600. Divide it by your balance, super balance. Let's say your balance is $50,000, and that gives you a number. Times that by 100 to get it a percent. So you're looking at 1.2.
They need to take a screenshot of this, I think.
Well, by all means do, or you'll be on the 9Now website. So you can see here a balance fund with CanStar's data, anywhere between 0.27, you can pay as much as 1.87 on that. What you're looking for is something around 1%, and that's a good fund. Again, look at the net returns as well, and that should work it all out. So this is a really good rule to have a look at when you get your statement through.
The statement should be rolling in now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And there are lots of things you should be looking at, but I've picked out three that people don't really check. First of all, the most common question I get asked is that I don't even know where my money is. Where is it invested? Are you in a high growth fund, a balance? Transactions, check that your boss is paying on time. They should be paying it 4 times a year, 1 month after each quarter, and from 2026 is going to be paid when you get paid. And then in your insurance cover, and we've talked about this, your work rating. Are you a blue collar? Are you a white collar? Make sure that's in there as well, and your level of cover. They're the things I'd like people to kind of check when their statements come through.
It sounds like a bit to go through, though, especially if you're thinking about potentially changing super funds.
It is, but come on, do you want to get $260,000 there? Yeah, it is a bit of work, and it's not, I guess it's not interesting. I mean, I find it very interesting. But have a look at the top super funds over a 10-year period for balance funds. Now, no guessing here. They're industry funds. Most of them you're probably looking thinking, oh, yeah, I'm in that or I'm not in that. Past performance, of course, is no indication of future, but these ones kind of sit in the top ones, worth having a look at. These are net returns as well, and most of them are industry funds.
And if your kids are already doing part-time work, they're casuals, check it for them.
Yeah.
Just get in there and check it, what they're paying in fees.
Absolutely, because they're not interested at this age, but believe me, you're going to get as old as me pretty fast, kids.
Exactly, and we're not going to pay for you.
You hear that, kids? All right, well, new data suggests Aussies are not convinced the RBA is finished with its rate rises, with shoppers continuing to slash their spending in anticipation of more pain.
Evan Lucas from InvestSmart joins us now from Melbourne. Consumers are still pretty wary. Good morning.
Good morning, Carl. Good morning, Sarah. That's probably almost an understatement, actually, Carl, in terms of what we saw yesterday. The one that really caught our attention is that family finances and the expectation of family finances is the lowest it's been on that survey since the early 90s. It's at 62. And to put that into consideration, it needs to be at 100 to be not pessimistic or optimistic. And that's how deeply concerned we are around our spending. And it is, even with the RBA pausing, the reason they are there, 2/3 of those surveyed suggest that they still believe the RBA is going to raise rates sometime in the next 12 months. And that explains why we are so pessimistic about the outlook and what has happened to our spending capacity.
But that perspective isn't necessarily mirrored by economists, Evan, is it?
No, and I'm one of them in terms of that idea that all the data is now suggesting, and you actually asked me this question last week, is with where we are at, it's likely that we're going to get the pause. What the RBA will take the silver lining out of that consumer confidence survey is that they want what they call inflation psychology to be front and centre with your mind. If you still believe rates are going to rise and you still believe that your spending capacity is going to be impacted, you're not going to do it. And therefore, the longer we hold like that, the faster inflation will fall, and therefore they won't have to raise rates. So maybe that's the silver lining for you.
Evan, it's not unusual for Sarah to ask the same question in the same interview. But thank you for pointing that out.
Thanks, Evan, and we're done.
Sorry, it was a little bit different question. It was the same point from last week.
I get what you're saying. The CommBank, meantime, is going to report record profits today.
I think you asked that before. No?
Yeah, maybe.
Doesn't work.
We'll have a look at that one too. But you're right, Carl. Today, CBA is expected to deliver a record all-time cash profit. It's coming out in the next hour or thereabouts. It'll be north of $10.5 billion in terms of that cash profit. And the expectation is that there'll be quite a chunky dividend for shareholders. Now, in a period where we just talked about the cost of living crisis and the pressure that's on there, there will be pressure back on the bank to explain how they're getting those kind of record numbers in an environment we're currently in.
That's fascinating. Bill Shorten was asking that same question yesterday. Let's see what happens. Good on you, Evan.
Thanks, guys.
$400,000 in medical fees after travel insurance refused to cover the cost of their son's motorbike accident in Bali. Let's bring in 9 Adelaide presenter Tom Wren. Tom, good morning. A tough outcome for the family.
Oh, this is just awful, isn't it, Brooke? And a timely reminder, perhaps, that if anyone else is going overseas or going anywhere and thinking of getting insurance, always pay that little bit extra, because something like this can be very, very costly in the long run. Now, Blake Gibbs suffered these brain injuries and head trauma after he came off his motorbike riding with a couple of mates. The 29-year-old suffered horrific injuries, and it looks like he is going to make a recovery, albeit a long and slow one. But that medical bill is going to be around $370,000, Brooke, so significant. And he didn't have the bike insurance attached with it, so that was going to cost him an additional $7. So it just goes to show that little bit extra paying at the time can be so important later on. So the family is now asking for help, because, as you can imagine, that is an extremely large amount of money for a couple of pensioners to pay. Now, hopefully their son makes a full recovery, but this is going to be a long and expensive lesson for the family, unfortunately, Brooke.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks, Tom.
Hey there, Today fans. Sarah and...
What's my name again?
Oh my goodness, Carl.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel, though. Subscribe now for more news, special reports, and amazing Aussie stories.
And Carl misbehaving,
Whoa,
of course.
that never happens.
Always happens.
What's she talking about?